Good afternoon and welcome to Light on the Hill. I am Pastor John. We are going to be finishing up our series on the I am statements from the book of John. So I'll go ahead and get us right into our verse for this week, which is John 15, 1 through 8. I am the true vine, and my Father is the gardener. He cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit, while every branch that does bear fruit he prunes, so that it will be even more fruitful. You are already clean because of the word I have spoken to you. Remain in me as I also remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself. It must remain in the vine. Neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. If you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. If you do not remain in me, you are like a branch that is thrown away and withers. Such branches are picked up, thrown into the fire, and burned. If you remain in me and my words remain in you, ask whatever you wish, and it will be done for you. This is to my Father's glory, that you bear much fruit, showing yourselves to be my disciples. So this is a parable that a lot of times can seem a little bit difficult because of some of the imagery that Jesus is using here. The imagery he's kind of invoking is that of a vineyard and the various prunings that they would do throughout the year, which there's two of. So in this case, a lot of this imagery is kind of connecting that towards what Jesus is specifically asking his disciples to do, which is to go out and bear fruit. Now, as to what all that sort of means, is that it's the very basic understanding within this passage is that to go out and bear fruit most likely means a combination of living righteously, living a righteous life, and also, spreading the gospel, and bringing in new believers. So that's kind of the fruit that Jesus is talking about here. But what about the pruning? Because the pruning is a big sort of part of this. Now, in those times, there's two prunings that they would do within a vineyard. The first one was in the spring before there was any fruit or anything on the branches, and this was specifically meant to increase the harvest. So this would have been the pruning where they were trimming branches, where they were kind of trimming off some branches and everything to trimming them back so that the plant would be healthier and would be able to bear more fruit than what it normally would. The second one was after the harvest. After they had harvested all the fruit and everything off of the vines, they would go through and remove any dead branches, any branches that didn't produce fruit, and throw them actually into like a fire to burn them. So in this, for the disciples specifically here, Jesus is saying that the prunings here are going to help them bear fruit. And in the case of one individual, who in this case would have been Judas, because this was taking place during the Last Supper, they would get thrown into the fire because they were a dead branch that wasn't going to bear any fruit. Which it seems like a pretty extreme image, but considering what kind of transpires from there, it makes sense. Now, for us specifically, what does this mean? Well, for us, I would say that there's going to be times in our life that might seem difficult, but ultimately, once we get through them, we become pretty much a better person. The word to prune here can also mean to purify, and that sort of process, that sort of purification, through a process that seems somewhat destructive, but ultimately results in a much more fruitful life, is something important for us to keep in mind. And it's something that can keep us grounded and hopeful in times that seem difficult. Now, to be clear, I'm not trying to say that if you face difficult times or anything like that, just to deal with it because the pain is going to be worth it. Because obviously, difficult times are still difficult times. I'm not trying to say that we should try to improve our situation in certain when it comes to certain circumstances. What I'm really saying here is that a lot of times we face things within our lives, difficulties, and when we get through them, we're a stronger person as is. And it's the same thing with what Jesus is kind of describing here. That is what I'm really sort of emphasizing. So I hope that that was helpful for you and that you have a little bit of a better understanding on all of this. And so I will wish you all a good week, and I will close us all in prayer. Dear Lord Jesus, thank you for this time we could spend in your word and learning a little bit more about this I am statement. I thank you so much for everything you've done for us this past week. I just thank you that for keeping us safe and helping us through this pandemic. I continue to pray for all of us during this, that you will keep us safe and healthy, that you will keep our health service officials safe and healthy, and that you will help them to guide us through this. I also pray for all the issues that we are facing within this country, the racial unrest, just the conflicts as well between our political parties, and within amongst human beings as well. I just pray that you will help us to get over all of that and come to a state of peace amongst ourselves. In your name, amen.